to Red Recaps. For today's video, we will be recapping a movie named Infestation. What are we waiting for? Let's get started. The film starts out with Cooper, a telesales assistant, being late for work. He's a poor worker and frequently makes mistakes, such that his boss Maureen calls him in and fires him. During this encounter, a loud noise pierces the eardrums of them both. Cooper screams in agony and falls unconscious. Awakening several days later, he's disoriented and confused. He notices his body is wrapped in a web-like substance from head to toe. He tears this substance off and begins crawling around the office, attempting to find out what on earth happened. That's when, boom! Suddenly an insect from above attacks him. After a brief brawl, he impales the bug with an umbrella, mortally wounding it. As Cooper is helping free the individuals trapped in this web-like substance, Maureen begins to worry about her daughter. She recalls having some sort of conversation with her before this incident occurred. She runs out of the office block looking for her. Cooper follows her outside and sees his coworker Sarah also trapped in this web. He eventually frees her, and upon her regaining consciousness, she is in a state of panic, such that she accidentally sprays an incapacitating spray on Cooper, which causes him to scream in pain. As Maureen shouts and runs toward the car, she is intercepted by a huge flying insect. More insects begin to surround Sarah and Cooper. Sarah quickly learns that the bugs follow noise. As they start to close in on the two, she covers Cooper's mouth shut and begins to play her car alarm using her keys. The bugs get distracted and leave the two. Sarah and Cooper then begin to make their way to a nearby building. Upon their arrival, they meet with Leachy, Cindy, Hugo, and his father Albert, Roger, PJ, and a police officer. The group discuss what their plan of action should be. The policeman instructs them not to go anywhere as it's too dangerous. Roger and PJ ignore his commands. Roger and PJ make their way inside a nearby truck, with Roger taking the driver's seat. As they are driving, a huge insect slams into the side of the truck window, causing Roger to lose control and PJ to leap out, injuring his leg in the process. Roger eventually loses his fight with the huge insects and is dragged out of the car. PJ, who is trying to limp away, is now facing his impending doom. The truck is driverless and is pacing toward him. A few seconds go by before, splat, he is crushed by the truck. Soon thereafter, the policeman is flanked by an insect and is mortally wounded. In an attempt to save the policeman from the insect, Albert is impaled by a sting in his back. Surviving the incident, the group help him run away, where they end up in the interior of a nearby building. The group make their way to the top of the building. As they look out over the cityscape, they notice a huge swarm of insects in the sky. Leachy informs the others how the insects are blind and how they should extrapolate venom from the insects to study them. The group sets up a trap using noise to lure them in. The group later learns that the venom inside the insects possesses sedatives, hence why they were all unconscious so long in the beginning. The group agree what their plan is for the following day. They will make their way to a nearby military base, and in doing so, will also check on their close family members, which they can only hope are still alive. In the meantime, each member of the group will take shifts watching for bugs, whilst others try and get some sleep. As the group are attempting to sleep, Cooper tries to find a way to sleep next to Sarah. This is clearly an example of him trying to exemplify his feelings to her. She ignores him, having no care for such a gesture. Later that night, Cooper is confronted by Cindy. She expresses how she only trusts Cooper and that the two should find a safe place to go alone. Cooper rejects her proposal. In reaction, Cindy then leans in closer to Cooper, pressing her lips against his cheek, this clearly being an indicator that she has feelings for Cooper. Unfortunately, Cooper is not at all interested and she eventually walks off. The next day, after the group wake up to a screeching captured bug, Leachy tells the group that she is no longer coming with them to the military base and that she wants to stay back in an attempt to examine the captured bug. As the group makes their way to the military base, they stop off at Albert and Hugo's house to check on Hugo's mother. When they arrive, they walk in on his mother passed away on the floor. She is unwebbed, this being a sign that she isn't still alive. Albert grabs a gun and lets the group know it's for self-defense. The group then stop at Cindy's house to check on her brother Chad and her sister-in-law Susan. As they enter, they see Susan is wrapped in the web-like substance, indicating that she is still alive. Cindy eventually wakes her up, until suddenly Chad appears into the frame. Everything below his torso is mutated, such that he is half man, half insect. He charges toward the group and uses his long claw-like limbs to pierce Susan's heart, killing her instantly. Sarah is flung across the garden and then lifted. Cooper smashes Chad in his skull with a mallet-like tool. Chad turns around and pierces Cooper in his leg. Hugo and Albert eventually intervene and help in mortally wounding Chad. Later, the group decide to camp at Cindy's house. Sarah later assists Cooper in sewing up his wound to prevent it from infection. We see Albert in the toilet clenching his abdomen in an attempt to soothe the pain. It's from the sting earlier. Knowing that he may be close to death, he approaches Sarah in the kitchen and asks her if she can take good care of Hugo. She promptly agrees. Hugo, being deaf, obviously needs sufficient attention and care. Later on, we see Cindy and Cooper in the lounge together. She is again making her moves on Cooper, but he very clearly emphasizes to her that he has no interest. This frustrates Cindy, causing her to strut off. The next day, we see the group heading toward Cooper's dad's house. Sarah exemplifies how she believes her mother, Maureen, may still be out there, alive and well. Sarah tells Cooper that firstly, she believes her mother is being kept inside some sort of hive, and secondly, after they visit Cooper's dad, she'll make her way to find this hive in an attempt to free her mother. As the group begin to approach a bridge, a swarm of insects fly above them. They take cover for a while. Sarah and Cooper are holding each other's hands in fear during this, which ultimately annoys Cindy. She becomes jealous and makes her way out of hiding to start shouting the two down. This insane attempt to expose the group is quickly shut down by Albert, who pulls up his shotgun and fires a round inside her chest, killing her instantly. The gunshot alerted the insects, which ended with Sarah being carried away by one of them as the group were trying to fight them off. As the remaining members of the group eventually reach Cooper's house, they are greeted by his father, Ethan. As the group are tucking into a meal, Albert mutates and turns into the half-man, half-insect that was similar to that of Chad. Hugo, after being told from his father to shoot him if such an incident occurs, shoots Albert, killing him. The gunshot alerted the nearby insects, which caused one of them to crash through the window. Ethan eventually killed the insect by using a taser. In an attempt to escape from the remaining insects, the group make their way to Ethan's shelter, where they ultimately spend the night. The next morning, Cooper tries to convince his father that they should go to the nest. He stringently objects to such an idea. Cooper storms out of the house, and on his way out he grabs Hugo and lets him know to stay with Ethan. As Cooper begins to make his way to the nest, he encounters an armed man who ultimately captures him and throws him into a cell. Convinced that he is infected, the man and his accomplices refuse to believe any explanation for him not being as such. Later, Cooper encounters an elderly man also in the same prison. The elderly man begins explaining about how Leechy rescued him and the others from the cocoon-like webs. The man states that he believes the others around him died due to a large explosion caused by a flammable-colored gas released by the insects and their nest. Later, Hugo and Ethan appear in the same prison. As they walk in, we see that Ethan turns out to be stung. As they are being escorted to their cell, Ethan takes control of the girl accomplice, holding her hostage. He demands that Cooper be released. During this time, the elderly man mutates and impales the woman. Using this opportunity to his benefit, Ethan then begins to perish the other members of the armed group, shooting each of them. After a period of gunfire, Ethan eventually frees Hugo and Cooper. The remaining three agree on Cooper's plan. They grab a selection of military equipment to help better prepare themselves for the hive they will be facing. As the remaining members make their way on bike to the hive, we see Sarah inside the hive, coming back to consciousness, witnessing the queen of the hive eating the webbed bodies. We see the remaining members reach the hive. It's vast, huge, and brings a sense of impending doom. They construct a plan to surround the hive with bombs. Ethan begins to complain of abdomen pain, having been stung earlier, and knows his time is limited. Utilizing this for Hugo and Cooper's benefit, he chains Cooper to the tree and knocks Hugo out with the back of his rifle to begin a suicide mission in destroying the hive. He signals to them both where the key to free themselves is, and so begins his mission. As he reaches the interior of the hive, he stumbles upon Sarah. She leads him to the direction of the queen. Hugo and Cooper, having clearly broken free from their chains, arrive at the hive. As they enter, they spot Ethan and Sarah fighting the queen. Cooper begins firing his shotgun at the queen, which causes her to make an extremely loud noise, signaling to the other insects that she needs help. The group suffer from the pitch of the screech, apart from Hugo. Due to his deafness, he isn't incapacitated by such a loud noise. Using this to his advantage, he chucks a bomb inside the queen's mouth. As the other group members begin to regain their awareness after the screech, Ethan states to the group that he should be the one who blows up the bomb. Predictably, however, he begins to mutate, having succumbed to the sting he gained earlier. Cooper is forced to explode the bomb, killing his dad and the queen in the process. Sarah and Hugo help Cooper escape from the hive as the huge fireball approaches them closer and closer. A few days later, we see Cooper on a hospital bed. With Hugo and Sarah to his side, he looks outside to see the world having been restored to some sort of normality. Did you enjoy the video? Leave a comment below about what you thought of it. You can watch this movie from the links below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching Red Recaps. See you in the next video.